We have heard the sky is falling warnings before in history, and the aftermath of the Paris Accord dropout by President Trump and the administration is just like the Chicken Little stuff we read about as kids. There's no question the Earth is warmer than it was 100 years ago, and that humans have contributed to that warming. There's no question about that. The question is how fast the meltdown will occur and whether the U.S. was in a good deal. Ideally, the U.S. would have negotiated a better place in Paris or redone the deal, but here's the point. China, now which agreed to the deal in principle voluntarily, it's a voluntary deal after all, didn't have to do much until 2030. India didn't have to do almost anything until it received $2 trillion in subsidies. The U.S. was expected to do a lot more than that, and the U.S. is leading its first world counterparts in reducing CO2 emissions. We've heard doomsday warnings also for a long time. Barry Commoner, who ran for president on the Green Party in 1980, I saw him give a lecture while I was in college. He said Orlando would have a beach by 1995. He said that in 1980. The polar bears were supposed to be extinct. Remember from Al Gore, they're thriving now in the North Pole. And Ted Danson, who was the big environmentalist precursor to Leonardo DiCaprio back in the mid-'80s, said we have 10 years to clean up the oceans before they are unfit for sea life. Now, it's not going to go as fast as people say, but I would say that we have to promote renewable energy sources, cut down CO2 emissions where we can, where we have been doing better than some of our rivals. When we hear that we're going to get rid of all those wind energy jobs in 10 years, we're going to cost jobs in the energy industry, I would just say, then why do the wind industry proponents admit that without massive government subsidies, they would go out of business because they couldn't compete with their fossil fuel counterparts on a level playing field? So that doesn't sound to me like a position of strength. I would say there's hysteria on this, and it's supposed to sober reality and trying to make improvements as we have done better than other countries. No, it's ideal that we stay in an international agreement that seeks outcomes by 2030 or 40 or beyond, but not in a way that screws us and gives our counterparts a big advantage. And those are my 2 cents. My 2 minutes are brought to you by Edge Construction and Capital Consultants. Bill McCoshen, a lobbyist who worked for Tommy